Social entrepreneurs want to change the world. At Noosphere Marketing, we believe social media is one path to help them get there. Visionary organizations need visionary marketing.
I look at sustainability as a property of the whole system. Sustainability, the word itself always refers to some system. It's simply the desire that a system keep producing something you want. But sustainability without a clear, explicit definition of what it is you want is just a very general property. I add flourishing. Flourishing to me is the best metaphor for capturing the good, all the things that human beings have wanted historically and currently for themselves and for the world. We want a world that flourishes. We want a world that is flowering. We want ourselves to be full, whole. And I just simply put all that under the roof of flourishing. Well, I stopped really looking at technology as the primary answer to everything somewhere along, I'd say probably the last 25 years. I can't point to the day I woke up and said, oh, things are different. I started in life as an engineer. My formal training is as a chemical engineer. I have a bachelor's and a doctorate in chemical engineering. And I went out from MIT as a bright young graduate that was going to change the world through technology. Or as DuPont said at the time, better living through chemistry. And I did that for a long time. I literally started in the laboratories, and I stumbled into the field of environment, and literally just sort of stumbled into that field as it was beginning at its early stages as a sort of formal discipline, as a formal social concern. And so I, along the way, started a company to do work in air pollution research. I did spend a time in the administration of President Carter in the resource management. And it was at MIT that I got more formally interested in sustainability. It had come on the map. And I began to ask myself and my colleagues a lot of questions about the place of technology. Of course, this was MIT and technology reigned supreme. But I became somewhat skeptical that this was really the answers, that the problems that we were trying to solve were problems that had their roots deep in the culture, deep in the belief system, deep in the modern world where technology does in fact reign supreme. And that we would, until we went and uncovered those roots and began to work there, we'd be doing what Einstein warned us against. You can't solve the problems you're in with the same way of thinking that got you there. And that's pretty much what really turned my attention away from technology, which I thought fit his definition almost perfectly. Well, I've been teaching at Marlborough now for 3 years through a number of cycles of my course, Exploring Sustainability. One of the 5 modules is a look at sustainability through the lens of spirituality. And the main thread, the main pedagogy is based on a bunch of essays on the role of spirituality. But I thought that it would help sort of lubricate the passage to spirituality, to bookend all those readings with poems that I considered to have more or less a spiritual context. But it just was one of those things that sort of looked the right thing to do when I put together the syllabus. I've been reading poems. I've taken courses in poetry. I've begun to appreciate the power of poetry, but this was simply a teacher's choice to try to put together a class that wouldn't. Well, sustainable development, as it was defined, and it's still basically present when people talk about sustainability or sustainable and so forth, really was defined. Sustainable development was defined formally in the report, so-called Brundtland Report, that really brought this term into the public as a form of development that more or less would provide some better distribution of benefits of the Earth's resources to both the present generation and those generations to come. But it's fundamentally just doing the same things we've been doing, but doing them better, doing them more efficiently. But it's tied to the same cultural belief system that I think is the root cause of the problems. Inequality is not going to get solved by efficiency. Efficiency will build growth. And I disagree with this. I don't think, again, I think this is sort of a manifestation of Einstein's warnings. Sustainable development is still the same basic policy model, rests on the same basic policy model that created the problems, and simply tinkering with them is not going to make those problems go away, cannot make those problems go away. So it's kind of a false promise, and I think that businesses that have bought into it talk about sustainable business, talk about sustainable products, talk about environmentally friendly products. They're doing okay. They're doing things that are good to do, but they're doing things that will can only reduce unsustainability, can make things less bad. They're not built on a strategy, on a set of beliefs that can produce flourishing. And I choose to focus on flourishing as the more important. Other people, most other people, are working in this area of eco-efficiency, one way or another. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I think I capture the basic longings at a more fundamental level than do all of the others.